Align BDO and Audit Profession practices with accounting for dreams. Cream ratings, the catalyst for the fourth industrial revolution. The fourth industrial revolution, what it means, how to respond. Klaus Schwab, founder and executive chairman, World Economic Forum. We stand on the brink of a technological revolution that will fundamentally alter the way we live, work, and relate to one another. In its scale, scope, and complexity, the transformation will be unlike anything humankind has experienced before. The first industrial revolution used water and steam power to mechanize production. The second used electric power to create mass production. The third used electronics and information technology to automate production. Now a fourth industrial revolution is building on the third, the digital revolution that has been occurring since the middle of the last century. It is characterized by a fusion of technologies that is blurring the lines between the physical, digital, and biological spheres. There are three reasons why today's transformations represent not merely a prolongation of the third industrial revolution but rather the arrival of a fourth and distinct one: velocity, scope, and systems impact. The speed of current breakthroughs has no historical precedent. When compared with previous industrial revolutions, the fourth is evolving at an exponential rather than a linear pace. Moreover, it is disrupting almost every industry in every country, and the breadth and depth of these changes herald the transformation of entire systems of production, management, and governance. Launching Cream Ratings Academy, the CEO practices, and Cream Report for corporate growth, our commitment deeper and our efforts greater. The theme: the fourth industrial revolution is about unleashing others' people energy.
Cream Ratings Academy. CREAM is an acronym for Corporate Governance, Risk Management, Earnings, Accounting Quality, and Management Quality. We are going to do the ratings, and this is the purpose. This is based on my book, Corporate Citizenship and Sustainability, measuring intangible, fiscal, and ethical assets. Two factors I would like you to note down: measuring intangible, measuring ethical assets. What is your company's ethical assets? You don't know. This is going to be an interesting aspect of understanding the subject matter, which is intangible. Intangible is defined in any of the definitions that you look at is something beyond our senses. That must change. What Immanuel Kant, nearly about 250 years back, said about wondered whether the science of metaphysics, the same pattern as that of the natural sciences, can be brought about. Yes, it has been brought about for the first time. That is what this is all about, the CREAM ratings.
Preamble, aligning BDO with I 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution.
Jayar, Chartered Accountants, ICAI, 1966, aged 78. It is my pleasure proposing to align BDO with I 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution. Going through BDO Global Review 2018, I concur with their opening remarks. The BDO story is an amazing one. In the mere 55 years since BDO was founded by just 5 firms, we have grown into an outstanding global organization of 80,000 people working out of 162 countries. Maybe around 100,000 now. Kudos to you. I feel immensely happy about BDO spearheading the value system among the industry, banking, and governments, and consequently the much needed trusteeship for the society. The next step is to make aware how CREAM ratings catalyze the fourth industrial revolution, vis-a-vis BDO aligning to it. It's going to be more interesting and challenging. Stay with me. Researching my book, I realized that the book has to be an empirical study of corporate management, different from anything that were ever written on corporate management and governance. This is to say that I am ushering in the basic fundamental theory and practice of management. And the project elites, education, learning, implementation, training, and execution. I made available my book via an e-learning process as well as a CREAM ratings course certification program to create as many certified professionals in each company. I started a podcast series recently on selected topics with good response from the world over. Episode 2, Post-COVID-19 Corporate Restructuring, about 12,122 downloads in 2 weeks. And then Episode 3, Corporate Governance Toolkit. That is going on now for 2 weeks with 16,424 downloads. That is growing steadily. That's my mission, spreading the corporate governance to all. India, the US, China have been leading the viewership. Sivaraman, an ex-VP of NOSL, wrote about episode number 3. Find it interesting. I've shared it in my independent directors, he said. Independent directors group. For the same episode number 3, Professor Archie Carroll, Professor Emeritus, University of Georgia, gave a thumbs up sign. Very good response from various companies who had evinced interest in my posts for about couple of years, I must say, that are posted via LinkedIn. This information about the interested companies, I have put it on my website, creamratings.com. Please check the intro page. Thank you. This preamble, I'd like to conclude saying, everlasting benchmarks metrics are brought to use by corporate, having cracked the code of the science of metaphysics. Positioning of BDO, as well as auditing profession, is an important aspect of Project Elite as to where they are placed in the unique corporate atomic structure, a logically structured framework that Immanuel Kant had wished for. Most importantly, how the formula return on intangible facilitates calculating EPP, effort per person, the energy of each person, connecting the foot soldier effort to derive GNH, Gross National Happiness Index, and GDP, Gross Domestic Product data. Long-awaited accountability factor is ensured, enabling I 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution, to walk the talk. Be my guest.
The penalty of leadership, audit profession, CREAM ratings, the catalyst for the fourth industrial revolution, a reality check. Quote, Klaus Schwab, the first industrial revolution used water and steam power to mechanize production. Reality check, the first industrial revolution enabled colonization more secure and profitable territories gained by any means, ending up with the World War I. Quote, Klaus Schwab, the second used electric power to create mass production. Reality check, the second used electric power to create mass production, enabling great scientific inventions, as well as mass destruction, electric gas chambers, and bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, ending up with the World War II. Quote, Klaus Schwab, the third used electronics and information technology to automate production. Reality check, The third used electronics and information technology to automate production as well as tampering with the voting systems, toppling the governments, installing leaders of their choice, assisting biological warfare and ending up with COVID-19 disaster. IT industry without a regulatory body framework is a Frankenstein monster let loose but untamed. As Bess Marson says, the accomplice to the crime of corruption is frequently our own indifference. That IT industry leaders cannot be silent over this issue. Quote, Klaus Schwab, now a fourth industrial revolution is building on the third, the digital revolution that has been occurring since the middle of the last century. It is characterized by a fusion of technologies that is blurring the lines between the physical, digital, and biological spheres. Reality check. We are at the cusp of the fourth industrial revolution, a quantum leap from the passions of greed, a slow and sure decay of morality and social order, culminating in high unemployment, BLM movements and Occupy Wall Street movements. Quote, Klaus Schwab, and the breadth and depth of these changes herald the transformation of entire systems of production, management, and governance. Reality check, and the breadth and depth of these changes forewarns the transformation of entire systems of production, management, and governance is at stake. Accounting for dreams.
What Klaus Schwab says of the first, the second, the third, as well as the fourth industrial revolution is very interesting and has a deep meaning attached to it. What the reality check indicates, it reflects what Carl Sagan had said. We make our world significant by the courage of our questions and the depth of our answers. Let me quote from BDO Global Review what Keith Farlinger had said. It's important that all of us dare to dream about the future, because dreams aren't about what is possible. They are about reaching the impossible. Dreams aren't about seeing opportunities. They're about seizing them. And they are not about today, they're about tomorrow. In my book, the primary factor is return on intangible being defined. I have made use of several such sayings, Carl Sagan, for example. I've also quoted Dhirubhai Ambani. His mission statement was, I liked it. Our dreams have to be bigger, our ambitions higher, our commitment deeper, our efforts greater. These 4 sentences gave me an extraordinary insight into the strategy planning area. When you say our dreams have to be bigger, that is a strategic idea. In my book, we will see the 6 stages of development from creating where exactly the dream is and where from the dream you develop to become a tangible object. That is the purpose of the book, connecting the science of metaphysics to the level-headed tangible substance of quality. So our dreams have to be bigger. I think Klaus Schwab had done it very well, and that's what Keith also has made it very clear about it. It's extremely good. Our ambitions higher, we got to put it the target. Our commitment deeper, our ambitions higher is what the leadership give you to look for something very extraordinary, as Keith has mentioned. That is the strategic planning process number 2. Our commitment deeper, that is the third stage. In this, you are having a strategy plan, say 2030. You're very, very clear about it. Everything goes a deep commitment that you are making. The process is, of course, explained in my book in detail. This is the third one. then our efforts greater. That is the action plan. So the first 1, 2, 3, until the commitment is being put in a strategy plan, we have a very, very clear process area, where from strategic idea, now how it is being developed to strategy planning area, and then you are analyzing and bringing it to commitment in terms of your strategy plan, say 2030. And there are 6 stages in which it takes. There is a creative process, these 3. The next one is our efforts greater. When you put our efforts greater on the committed strategy plan of 2030, how we are going to go ahead, achieve it. So we don't dream with the declaration our dreams have to be bigger. We start measuring how it is being done in each stage, in the creative process and as well as the action process. If you look at the first, second and third, particularly in the reality check, dreams had not been very clearly indicated. We assume that the first, second and third part of it. But if you look at the ambitions, and this is where Carl Sagan's mention is very important. We make our world significant by the courage of our questions and the depth of our answers. If you look at the 1, 2, 3, it ended up, that is, people who have not been taken the leadership. If you look at Germany after the war, Konrad Adenauer had taken the grip of the whole situation and made it created a Germany of a wonderful area on this earth. That sort of thing has to come. That has to come from the leadership. That is the leadership requirement. So if you look at that 1, 2, 3, is a very difficult area, and we ended up in capturing, as I said, in this reality check. And the third is a very difficult at this point of time, considering what is happening in COVID-19 and the difficulties that have been put through in industry and banking and government requirements. All these dreams towards for excelling in our industrial growth, making things good for the universities, for the students, for the future, as Keith Farlinger said. We got to take a grip of it. That was not correct. So if you look at that area of creative process, Keith also has mentioned about it, and I have gone through the Global Review, BDO Global Review 2018. A lot of the first stage, that is talking about the dreams. This is what we want to do. This is how we are looking at the leadership aspects, which I have indicated, I'll be indicating in my analytics. They are good. But what's very important is the first principle, or 5 principles in my IPR, an activity-based cost management, which is activity has got a cost incidence, which all our auditors do that, ex post facto, P&L and balance sheet. Inactivity has got a cost consequence. Measure cost consequence now. That is the principle of an activity-based cost management. We had failed to do that in the first. We ended up in the World War I. We failed to do that in the second. We ended up with the World War II. We failed to do that in the third. We ended up with COVID-19 and tampering with the voting machines and whatnot. This had to be addressed. If you do not address this reality check of the 1, 2, 3, going towards fourth is a major problem. This is very, very, very important. I will briefly look into it, where the problem area is, how we have to go step by step in terms of, as Keith says, is not about what is possible, they're about reaching the impossible. We got to get that fourth industrial revolution in the grip. And where is the negative points for that? If you can identify it, as Dhirubhai Moni statement says, our ambition have to be higher and our commitment deeper. So we are looking at the creative process of Strategic Plan 2030 in all areas. If you look at that, of course, I have analyzed, it's called Project Seed, social, environmental, economic development area. So we will look into it as a whole. I'll come back to that.
Onerous responsibility. Audit profession.
The onerous responsibility. From what I look at the scenario on account of I 4.0, I see the onerous responsibility is called from BDO and other audit firms. Reviewing what Klaus Schwab says, in its scale, scope, and complexity, the transformation will be unlike anything humankind has experienced before. Pertains to the challenges of the audit firms more than the industry. The fourth industrial revolution are of two kinds. One, advanced technology, and two, societal changes. Should I 4.0 is to succeed, then the revolution must take place in the audit firms, with the emphasis on societal changes, enabling audit firms to measure and certify the corporate governance and its management, the ethical assets of a company. This calls for establishing a corporate management operating systems. Establishing corporate management operating systems, therefore, is a necessity, as from BDO Global Review, Sean Morton says, there is really no choice in this matter. Innovation is a challenging and exciting necessity. To quote from the review of the OECD anti-bribery instruments, let me take you to another aspect. The compilation of responses to consultation paper in 31st March 2008. On the topic of materiality and relevance, the accounting firms had taken the stance that it is the responsibility of the management to take the appropriate action. This must change definitely. They had given up hope, possibly, I don't know how. I'm an accountant, a chartered accountant. So to look at it that this is the responsibility having handed over to the management, the materiality and relevance aspect of it, is because of the restrictive nature of our auditing systems. That is ex post facto auditing that we are doing. That possibly is the reason. Now, you look at the auditor's role. What is the auditor's role? Audit profession must realize that ex post facto audit in one side and being indifferent to material events happenings in a company at the other end is no longer valid. The audit profession as it stands today will be consumed by the advent of the fourth revolution with emerging cognitive technologies and robotic process automation. The auditor's role will have to change. That change has to come from within the profession. We don't see McKinsey or Baines being hauled up in the court of law, whereas it's a daily affair for the audit firms defending their audits that the management had to address. Why? That's what Keith Farlinger answers to the big question, what is BDO's reasons for being? I will look into this, the audit profession, the change that is being needed.
Audit profession, governance.
Audit profession, the change aspect. Audit profession is the only one that is subjected to intense scrutiny and stands alone to defend themselves and protect industry and banking from going berserk. It had gone through turbulent times in the past. To recall auditing the auditors, Time issue of July 1st, 1974. The heading says, "No profession has suffered a more painful drop in public esteem than accounting." It says, "In recent years, accountants have been regularly criticized for failing to expose corporate shenanigans and have been sued for the allegedly certifying misleading company earnings reports. 4 SEC complaints were filed against Pitt Marwick Mitchell and Company, one-time auditor of such tarnished firms as Penn Central and National Student Marketing, and the giant of the profession, Walter E. Hansen, 48, a former railroad accountant and senior partner chief executive of Pitt Marwick since 1965, moved to restore confidence by volunteering to have his company's procedures audited by colleagues from competing firms." You will see more of it in Chapter 3 of my book, Intangible Assets. It traces the history from 1978, IAS 9 Accounting for Research and Development Activities, through exposure draft ED 50, later changed to ED 59, for intangible assets, that was finally published in 1998 as IAS 38 Intangible Assets. IAS 38 is the only standard that failed to define the title intangible. Please take note of it. Penalty of leadership. BDO needs to redefine the leadership qualities as mentioned in Global Review 2018 to expand its leadership acumen to the audit profession as a whole, as is warranted now, not for BDO solo. That is a penalty of leadership. I see BDO has done very well, and it should take the lead toward other audit firms too. That which deserves to live, lives. Regulatory body, IT industry. IASB IFRS must expand to include measuring ethical assets of an organization and must bring the IT industry in its fold for CREAM report. CREAM ratings of each individual within an organization will have significant effect on the company as a whole, extending beyond to the national GDP and GNH index level. Let me give you the details of it. Next, this thing regarding CREAM ratings, which is a catalyst for the profession to excel, a necessity to certify fiscal and ethical assets of a company. You will see how costly it was not to have defined the title intangible in IAS 38 Intangible Assets. You will also see how simple once defined, it enables the accomplishment of tasks in an infinite succession of finite purposes by controlling each goal. Management is not very complex. It is very simple process, and there are no complexities as such. That is what CREAM ratings offers you. ABC of CREAM ratings: auditing, audit profession, bankers and company, track of energy force that drive the fourth industrial revolution to go full steam. CREAM ratings provides the platform to grow exponentially rather than at a linear pace, a solution from the current imbroglio of the management evading the crucial responsibility and accountability. For audit profession is a wake-up call to change the denominator. Then only you can measure the accountability of each individual within a company. Thank you.
Grace of the audit profession.
There are 5 criteria I brought about, which I call grace for the audit profession. G for governance, R for responsibility, A for authority, C for credibility, and E for enablement. To look back to IAS 9 in 1978, Accounting for Research and Development Activities, there had been a grace. We had the governance fully supported by IASC, IASB, etc. And the responsibility was shown by Hansen, calling for a competing audit firm to come and audit the auditing methodology of Pitt Marwick. It was a great thing. It was done by Hansen. Then audit firms had the authority. No single issue could be taken offhand by the so-called management. A journal entry that could be passed had the prior sanction from IASC, IASB at the time. And audit profession had the credibility. What was more important at that point of time was Arthur Young did the audit for the auditors, and they gave a clean chit of Pitt Marwick that Hansen called for. Society, the most important factor is that society believed in authoring at that point of time, despite various other problems of Lockheed and Gulf Oil and whatnot. And enablement. The balance sheet was an enabled instrument. That was a thing which was in 1978 through to 1998. When IAS 38, Intangible Assets were published. It defined an intangible assets as an identifiable non-monetary asset without physical substance. We will look into it later. This was after this issue of IAS 38, they had a very free hand in the management. Governance was not possible for not having defined the title word intangible. Audit profession had lost its hold on their professional responsibility, and the erosion of balance sheet had begun. The millennium merger of AOL takeover of Time Warner is a case in point, creating a $335 billion company, proving that in a world ruled by finance, intangible assets rather than the real assets are the indicator of real wealth. That Corrado and Halton in 2010, in that study, estimated that in 2007, by omitting investments in intangibles, $4.1 trillion was excluded from published national accounts data in the US. These are the things that happened that led to 2008, the fiasco. Intangible asset had become a white spot on a white paper that anyone can market it for billions of dollars. The big 8 audit firms in 1978, when Arthur Young could conduct auditing auditors, have shrunk to big 4 audit firms. The erosion of professional responsibility had begun. Audit profession must take back control of the balance sheet. Scrap IAS 38, intangible assets, first, even now, and reinstate IAS 9, accounting for research and development activities. Grace there shall be in the audit profession. That's my request.
Align BDO and audit profession practices with accounting for dreams. Cream ratings, the catalyst for the 4th Industrial Revolution. Chapter 1: Causality.
The purpose of this book is to measure intangible, fiscal, and ethical assets. I shall present you with the content of the 9 chapters to this end. Let's begin. In the context of I 4.0, the 4th Industrial Revolution, the emphasis on 2 counts: advanced digital technology and 2 societal changes. Chapter 1: Causality. Cause and effect. By our ex post facto framework, we come to know the effects after the deluge. Cause is never known, rather kept under the wraps. This is a major issue for the auditors to look at. The Chapter 1 brings out billions of dollars wasted by wrong decisions. To quote from BDO Global Review 2018, Tron Morton Lindbergh says, leadership is about making the right decisions. Well said, sir. When the right decisions are not taken, the cost must be analyzed. This is missing. There are several such cases in Chapter 1. To quote from my book, any corporate not founded in an ethical motive is wrong. Freedom of enterprise is a freedom to choose right, not wrong. It is not a choice between a right and wrong. That is how Chapter 1 epigraph stands. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. It is up to us, Klaus Schwab says. We should make note of it. We are living in a DIY, do-it-yourself planet. Journey takes you to CERN, a comparative study of CERN and corporate. Throws light on the existence of matter and its creation of energy. We will deal with that. Energy is the most important. The story of a boy soldier who would count to the fiscal assets, the deck of cards, solve a puzzle, and also retain the ethical assets is a study of contrast between tangible domain and intangible. Connecting the different perspectives, the human mind focuses on the behavior of highly sensitive dynamical systems given access to a constant. So we are looking for a constant. We'll get it. Is corporate living in a Plato's cave? Causality is where you start by the courage of your questions and find the depth of your answers.
Chapter 2. Who are you? Unleashing other people's energy.
Chapter 2. Who are you? Let me quote what Keith Farlinger had said in BDO Global Review 2018. I also believe that everyone has leadership capabilities and should think of leading in their role, wherever they are in an organization. Keith encapsulates what my work has detailed. Individual unleashing energy, and 2, self-governance. That creates a new form of capitalism. Self-governance is crucial as the ultimate delegation of authority or empowerment. It deals with what Mark Benioff had called upon the America's top corporations to be responsible for improving society by serving all stakeholders, ethically, morally, and fairly. And notes Keener's animal spirits and how Keener had forewarned the same succinctly in the last century. Keener's warning left unmeasured readdresses in the context of continued corporate apathy towards such bombastic ideals. It is going forever without a solution as to how to measure methodically, optimizing the energies and skills of individuals toward a common purpose, as Wayne Berson addresses the why for BDO. Align corporate with laws of universe. The corporate platform, a two-dimensional flat organization structure that is practiced even now, is indeed inadequate for the challenges an organization poses. It has to go. Corporate must come out of the earth is as flat as a trencher outlook. It deals with antimatter when it collides with matter that forms a pure energy. It quotes David Eagleman, if you take a cubic centimeter of brain tissue, there are as many connections between its neurons as there are stars in the galaxy. You know how many stars are there in the galaxy? That Carl Sagan says the total number of stars in the universe is greater than all the grains of sand in all the beaches of the earth. So the person next to you has the capability of the universe. When Klaus Schwab says that I 4.0, the transformation will be unlike anything humankind has experienced before. It's nothing, absolutely nothing. If only we unleash the human energy, which is the second aspect of the fourth industrial revolution, the societal changes. Who are you? You are intangible. You are the pulsating energy. You are the corporate denominator. We will get it done.
Chapter 3: Intangible Assets, the root cause of economic collapse.
Chapter 3, Intangible Assets. I'm adding another title for it now. The root cause of economic collapse. In 1977, when IAS 9 Research and Development course was introduced, downsizing programs involving billions of dollars and re-engineering effects were being undertaken in the auto industry post Yom Kippur War. And there was rising government pressure in the United States to have fuel-efficient cars. Yet, IAS 9 stood by the rules, despite a few, such as Grand Metropolitan and Rank Hovis McDougall, decided in 1988 to include the value of brand names, either purchased or internally developed, in their consolidated balance sheets. IAS 38, Intangible Assets, had allowed a free entry to the balance sheet. Not the audit profession lost control of graves, governance, responsibility, authority, credibility, and enabled balance sheet. They willingly participated in multiplying their revenues as consulting firms. Grace ended with E, erosion of balance sheet. Sir David Tweedy had to say this. We have heard a clear and consistent message on financial instruments accounting. Fix these once, fix it comprehensively, and fix it in an urgent and responsible manner. It was too late. The first step, let me quote Edmund Burke, to empire is revolution, by which power is conferred. The next is good laws, good order, good institutions, to give that power stability. Reality check. The first, the second, and the third industrial revolution had conferred, despite good laws, good order, good institution, and arbitrary power to a few. In this context, I want to quote Edmund Burke again during his speech on impeachment of Warren Hastings in 1788 on arbitrary power. Quote, "He have arbitrary power. My lords, the East India Company are not given arbitrary power to give him. The king has no arbitrary power to give him. Your lordships have not, nor the commons, nor the whole legislature. We have no arbitrary power to give, because arbitrary power is a thing which neither any man can hold, nor any man can give. No man can lawfully govern himself according to his own will. Much less can one person be governed by the will of another. We are all born in subjection, all born equally, high and low, governors and governed, in subjection to one great, immutable, pre-existent law, prior to all our devices and prior to all our contrivances, paramount to all our ideas and all our sensations, antecedent to our very existence, by which we are knit and connected in the eternal frame of the universe, out of which we cannot stir." Unquote. Arbitrary power is not given by anybody, but arbitrary power is taken by a few, when good institutions created or made ineffective. That is the case of the audit profession that has been rendered ineffective by the so-called management. So audit profession has to take control of grace in order to provide the stability for the fourth industrial revolution takes off well. 2 points I shall present in the next few chapters. 1. defining intangible, and 2, how audit profession brings stability to industry, banking, and governments. This shall wish again what BDO's stated policy outlook is. Now more than ever, trust is essential in our profession and in our markets.
Chapter 4, Intangible Defined, The Science of Metaphysics.
Chapter 4, Intangible Defined, The Science of Metaphysics. Let me start with the BDO Global Review comment by Anders Heeg. I am really encouraged to see that BDO's leaders are committing energy and resources to taking the right opportunities whenever they appear. We are competing against the best in our chosen markets, and we can and do win. The word to note is energy. Immanuel Kant raised the question whether a science of metaphysics with a logical structure like that of the well-established mathematical and natural sciences is possible. It is possible. Let me present you with an equation. To recall what my maths professor had raised the question, if x square equal to 4, what is x? Many said 2, some said plus or minus 2. My professor, we used to call him Lambda Ramakrishnan, was a product of Ramanujam Institute of Mathematics. He said all of us were wrong. If x square equal to 4, x is root of 4, which is identically equal to, that is 3 dashes, plus or minus 2. Omitting identically equal to sign is not acceptable to the genius of the theory of numbers. Corporate is governed by quantitative elements that are 2 plus 2, object-oriented, and we ignore the existence of minus 2. Truth always counterbalances opposite values. Only then can it be the truth, the whole truth. The epigraph for chapter 4 is absence of evidence is not evidence of absence, quoting Martin Rees. For auditors, particularly for ferreting out the qualitative elements of management, such as code of good conduct, code of business principles, or insider trading, this concept is a must change. So there are 2 different domains one shall see. Domain of intangible and the tangible domain, that are domains of energy and matter respectively, that represent the universe. The known level is of matter, that is infinite in numbers. Connecting the two, the intangible, the basis of ethical values, an energy force, a constant singularity on one side, and the tangible substance that is infinite on the other, is indeed an exciting exercise for an intuitive mind. Martin Rees quotes Einstein. The most incomprehensible thing about the universe is that it is comprehensible. What Einstein meant is that the laws of nature seem to apply not just here on the earth, but everywhere in the universe. We could imagine a universe where there were no laws at all, completely anarchic, every atom being different. And that were the case, we would make no progress at all in making sense of the external world. Martin Rees says, in the entire universe, corporate is the exception, is the only species not aligned with the laws of nature. Corporate should adopt the laws of the universe so that a corporate management operating system can be established. Coming back to matter and energy, the 3 laws that corporate shall inherit from mass and energy, which have equivalence. Law number 1, Energy is liberated matter. Law number 2, matter is energy waiting to happen. Law number 3, antimatter, when it collides with matter, forms a pure energy. Law number 1, energy is liberated matter, is the first law that we show in Preamble and balance sheet. Law number 2, matter is energy waiting to happen, is the second law that may be lying in the raw material stores or finished goods go down or incomplete project were in different places or the towers of Babel strewn all over the world, waiting to be liberated from the present form. That is law number 2 for you. Law number 3 is intangible, is antimatter, is the effort from the individual entrusted with the task of packing law number 2, the matter where energy is waiting to happen, to law number 1, to be energized as a liberated matter. So intangible is defined as intangible is an effort, the energy force applied for a specific task, creative as well as action, having an identifiable goal, enabled by the factors for the task accomplishment, and measured by defined performance criteria. So the corporate denominator is the energy force, or the EPP, effort per person. Thank you.
Chapter 5, Measuring the Intangible, Accounting for Dreams.
Measuring the intangible is crucial for deriving the metrics, the everlasting metrics we shall derive. To quote Keith Farlinger of BDO, dreams aren't about seeing opportunities, they're about seizing them. They're not about today, they're about tomorrow. Yes, these are the dreams that Klaus Schwab has succinctly put for I 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution. I said before, in scale, scope, and complexity, that transformation will be unlike anything humankind has experienced before, pertains to the challenges of the audit firms more than the industry. Here it begins. Audit profession should start accounting for dreams, seizing the opportunity. Audit profession must not miss the opportunity this time. To strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. Assist industry to convert the dreams to strategy, creative plan, strategy, action plan. This time, focus on the ethical assets of a company. Focus on the societal changes. However, caution must be taken in the event of the audit profession fails to change. In the scholarly presentation by P.R. Ramesh of Deloitte, Impact of Technology on Role of Auditors, he quotes the study by Frey and Osborne, or the probability that computerization would lead to job losses of auditors and accountants, is at 0.94 probability out of 1, next only to telemarketers, that is estimated at 0.99, topping the list. Now, let me now present the corporate transformation cause, converting the dreams to a tangible object. There are 6 stages by which the dreams are transformed into a substance of quality. The first stage is the state of quiescence, place of an innovative mind. It is individualistic. To quote Ron Martin from BDO Global Review, innovation to me is about mindset and culture. Dick Downbrower of BDO says we need to keep the foot on our innovation accelerator in every sense. We shall do that. That is where the stage 1 is, the stage of quiescence and tranquility. The state of quiescence is in the domain of intangible, where there is no duality, no paradox, no plurality, and no opposite values, which are the characteristics of the tangible domain. So metrics for this stage is 0, looking from the tangible domain from the known phenomenal level of diversity to the unknown. Now let's go to stage 2. Stage 2 is space. From the domain of intangible as it has happened during Big Bang. From nothingness, we got into space. That is the connecting point. So stage 2 is space. Let us move on to stage 2, which is a eureka moment. It is conceptualization. Got it? It rings a bell. A sound idea has come forth. Let me play it out. A sound recording. Please listen.
Perfect.
What you have heard is the recording by NASA from Voyager 1. Speaking in a news conference, Don Gunnett, principal investigator for the Voyager plasma wave investigation, said, "When you hear the recording, please recognize that this is an historic moment. It is the first time that we have ever made a recording of sounds in interstellar space." India's concepts had mentioned in the Panchabhuta, the 5 elements, that space had only one element, sound. Although Indian concepts are as old as the humanity, now we are able to confirm from Voyager 1 recording that space has one element, that is sound. So the metrics for stage 2 in the state of conceptualization is 1. This is where an idea comes. That from the dreams, we are coming out of the dream to get an idea which rings a bell. Stage 3, air, communication. From space, we journey to the earth and find air having 2 elements. Sound, that of the first stage, and touch. For corporate, this stage is communication that air enables. Communicate the idea to a selected few within the organization. So the metrics for stage 3 communication is 2. Then we step on to stage 4, fire. Step on to the fire. Formation. Added to the first 2 elements, sound and touch, form is visible. That is fire. For corporate, the idea circulated gets attention, and the CEO forms a team to look into it. Strategy idea now is taking place. So the metrics for stage 4 formation is 3. Stage 5, water, formulation. Added to the first 3 elements of sound, touch, and form, the element taste takes place. For corporate, it is a crucial stage of developing a strategy plan. Hitherto, companies use this stage with an ERP that provides a base for the quantitative elements of management. Time we look into the second aspect of I 4.0, which is societal changes. I'll present to you in the subsequent chapters how there are 170 process blocks and how only 12 belong to quantitative elements of management that are in earnings in CREAM report. The other 4, corporate governance, risk management, accounting quality, and management quality, constitute 158 process blocks. Focus on the 158 main process blocks before finalizing the next element, strategy plan, a substance of quality that warrants a thorough planning of every aspect of management, quantitative as well as qualitative elements. So the metrics for stage 5 formulation is 4. Stage 6, earth, got a smell, substance of quality. Added to the first 4 elements, sound, touch, form, taste, the final element is smell. It is the end of transformation from dreams to a substance of quality. Let every company prepare a strategy plan, say 2030, covering the 170 process blocks under Project SEED, social, environmental, and economic development. Goals of 17 SDGs, 9 for social, 4 for environmental, and 4 for economic development goals, with a target date to complete the exercise. We will know the status of each stage of each organization for each main head of their operations undertaken as to the strategy plan, say 2030. These metrics would remain forever, so accounting for dreams takes a forward march. BDO and audit firms are the catalysts and help to prepare the strategy plan 2030 for each of their clients. Klaus Schwab's The Fourth Industrial Revolution will have a strategy plan 2030 taking good shape. Let us walk the talk. To summarize, the 6 stages of transformation is linear progress from 0 to 5. One element gets added on completion of each stage. This is a creative process, identical to man-made or natural substance transformation. There is no quantum jump, as Warren Buffett says. No matter how great the talent or efforts, some things just take time. You can't produce a baby in 1 month by getting 9 women pregnant. Process stages can be compressed in terms of time factors, but cannot be avoided. All corporate failures can be attributed to the skipping of process stages during the creative process. Next, I shall take you to Chapter 6, Inactivity-Based Cost Management, which is my IPR, with a motto, an activity has a cost incidence, whereas inactivity a cost consequence. Measure cost consequence now, now, now. The strategy plan we create must be tracked now, now, now.
Chapter 6, Inactivity-Based Cost Management. Measure cost consequence. Now, now, now.
Activity as a cost incidence, whereas inactivity a cost consequence. Measure cost consequence now, now, now. The cost of inaction is the main problem for the industrial growth. We shall examine and find a solution to eliminate the cost of inaction with the 5 principles expounded in this chapter. Business enterprise is a profound thought of good intentions toward the society, which sets apart corporate culture over individual choice. A culture is a function of true knowledge of awareness, an identity with an ethical responsibility, that by which corporate infers and society teaches. This chapter 6, in activity-based cost management, establishes the culture of an organization for centuries to come. The 5 principles are: the principle number 1, what gets measured gets managed. Principle number 2, measure qualitative elements of management. Principle number 3, corporate atomic structure. Principle number 4, return on intangible. Principle number 5, emergent property phenomenon. Fit as a fiddle. Now, let me explain to start with principle number 1. What gets measured gets managed. Consider in your company the number of times in a week the top echelons huddle together to resolve the issues. The issues are connected with the individuals who have caused it, not so much to the objects. We have already created several solutions for the objects, such as re-engineering, manufacturing efficient systems, TQM, Six Sigma, Deming Award criteria, HACCP, and so on and so on. But the huddling together within an organization continues because of issues related to individuals. Variance analysis meetings invariably end up with one accusing the other. That's the point. Issues related to individuals have yet to be measured. Then we can manage the organization better. What gets measured, gets managed, is measuring the qualitative elements of management that we have hitherto not measuring. It means let us walk the talk. Let me quote from BDO, Global Review 2018. The last word belongs to you, Keith, but it is a big question. What is BDO's reason for being? What core purpose is our identity and our driver? The answer given is this. It is a big question, yes, but with a simple answer, which I call our why. We exist to help our clients, whatever their goals. I would like to point out this particular answer, whatever their goals. Principle number one brings goal congruence, where everyone in an organization focuses on the same goal. Principle number one deals with it. I would like Keith to note on goal congruence, enabling a single purpose for all, instead of each having different goalposts. Principle number two, how to measure qualitative elements of management. Galileo Galilei said, measure what is measurable, make measurable what is not so. I'd like to tell you, what is not measurable is very high in our organization. So we got to make measurable what is not so. Ethics is subtler than the subtle. Ethical motive is subtler than the subtlest. In chapter 5, Deriving Metrics, we have discussed on the corporate transformation costs. There are 6 stages of transformation to substance of quality. Follow the same principle by creating a substance of quality as to what you mean by ethics or ethical standard. Illustratively, UNCAC, United Nations Convention Against Corruption, is a policy document on anti-corruption. UNCAC document can be adopted as a template for all policy documents. It has 2 important articles. Article 13, participation of society. Article 10, public reporting. Include these 2 articles in your strategy plan of 6 stages. Article 13, participation of society in stage 5, formulation of policies. Decision-making process would be enhanced before embarking on a huge project, such as a diesel software of Volkswagen or Bayer's M&A with Monsanto. Provide data during the creative process in stage 5, formulation, for Article 10, public reporting, as what data would need to be reported back to the society. In other words, bring data to the society's table. Leadership about making the right decisions. Tron Martin Lindbergh said, I would like him to check on Article 13 and Article 10 of ELCAC as to how they would enable making right decisions. Principle number 3, corporate atomic structure. Restructure the organization. Corporate needs to discount the 2D spreadsheet organization structure currently in use. When an intangible is placed in the pivotal position, the organization structure revolves around it. We shall do that. Redesign the 3D corporate atomic structure. Similarity between atomic structure and corporate atomic structure. Let me illustrate the critical points between the atomic structure and corporate atomic structure. Structure and corporate in the same manner, we align with the universe is a natural thing for us. that we should do. Every atom is made from three kinds of elementary particles: protons, electrons, and neutrons. Corporate atomic structure is in the same manner. The board, protons; the CO team and workforce, electrons; and the society, the neutrons. By structuring corporate similar to atomic structure, it provides a clarity and establishes the connection between the three: the board, the CO team, and the society. We are able to bring in the society in our corporate management operating systems. There are three distinctly important tracks of energy force working within a company: policy, practices, and the people. That's a society. The three P's. In the atomic structure, protons and neutrons form a nucleus. So is the case in the corporate atomic structure. The board and the society form the nucleus. In the atomic structure, electrons spins around the nucleus. So is the case with the corporate atomic structure. The CO team spins around the corporate nucleus. In the atomic structure, the neutron does not influence the identity of the atom, but adds mass to it. So is the case with the corporate atomic structure. The society doesn't influence the identity of the corporate, but adds mass to it. In the atomic structure, the electron spins around the nucleus at great speed, nearly 3/4 of the speed of light. So is the case of the corporate atomic structure. The CO team spins around very fast. In the atomic structure, neutrons brings in the stability so that the electron does not shoot off elsewhere from the nucleus. So is the case of the corporate atomic structure. The society brings in the stability to the company so that the CO team does not shoot off in tangent away from the nucleus. Despite the great speed, the track of energy force balances well. The equation equal to mc square, E is the energy, m is the mass, c is the speed of light. Since c square, speed of light by itself, is a truly enormous number, what the equation is saying is that there's a really huge amount of energy bound up in every material thing. That is what we have actually created our corporate. The huge amount of energy is bound up in every material thing that we have created, these man-made companies. What also it clarifies, the three distinct area. One, the nucleus responsible for the ethical responsibility, and the CO team, which is the electron, is responsible for the fiscal responsibility. We shall go into the detail in our next principle number 4, return on intangible. In this principle number 3, we shall also look into benchmarking, which is very essential in our organization. The most powerful benchmarking that we shall look into is called Oberson factor in in the universe. We discussed 3 laws. Energy is liberated matter. Law 2, energy is waiting to happen. And law 3, when antimatter collides with matter, pure energy is formed. Which is, in other words, for corporate to the EPP, effort per person, triggering the intangible to pack the matter where energy is waiting to happen, to law 1, where energy becomes a liberated matter. Again, when we learn from the universe is that for the universe to exist as it does requires that hydrogen be converted into helium to a precise but comparatively stately manner, specifically in a way that converts 7/1000ths, that is 0.007 of the mass into energy. What if it doesn't do? Either 0.008 it goes up or 0.006 instead of 0.007. Then we understand the universe as we understand now will not exist. While Strategy Plan 2030 is being prepared, deriving the profits and growth apply to each component, the conversion factor, for selected individuals to reach the targets in a precisely and stately manner. The conversion factor to each, for example, CAGR or CARR, which is annual reduction rate or growth rate. Establish EPP individually, it differs from each, and we have to find it out. Is to tally with Strategy Plan 2030. Establish EPP so that by Law 2, there are no inactive elements waiting for energies to happen. That is JIT, just in time, for Strategy Plan 2030. How we are going to convert the CAGR to CDGR, daily growth rate, CARR to daily reduction rate. On this thing, we will check into the next principle, return on intangible. Principle number 3, corporate atomic structure, is universal application for all companies. The audit profession is one of the most highly respected professions in the world. Society does not influence a company but adds most to it because of the audit profession. It is the only profession entrusted with certifying corporate affairs as a trustee of society. Corporate atomic structure is valid for the audit profession, but when it discharges its duty, it becomes part of the nucleus, representing the society. Note the difference. A return on intangible. Individual unleashing of energy and getting credit for it is a new form of capitalism. In arts, in literature, in music, in sports, individuals gain renown, not the corporate entity that promotes them, be it a sports club or an opera house. Truly, return on intangible is a capability model. The equation is as follows. Return on intangible is equal to the numerator action or inaction, the denominator intangible. Or put it by energy, numerator is law 1, liberated matter, or law 2, energy waiting to happen, and the denominator, law 3, intangible. Action is 1 and inaction is 0. Intangible is always 1, for intangible reveals human capability that is common to all, a part or a nuclear scientist. The new capitalism, or I, return on intangible, gets a binary value 1 or 0. Let me present you with a CREAM ratings framework, CREAM analytics framework. CREAM stands for corporate governance, risk management, earnings, accounting quality, and management quality. By corporate atomic structure, a company gets a track of energy flows, the board, the CO team, and the society. ROI, return on intangible, is derived with a framework as illustrated herein, named CREAM Analytics Framework, as to identify the energy put in by each person in the trica of energy flows. Corporate social responsibility is split into corporate fiscal responsibility and corporate ethical responsibility. You can have a good look at it, how it is being divided between CREAM, C, corporate governance and risk management, sustainability and efficiency, E, earnings, and A and M, accounting quality and management quality, sustainability of value system. Sustainability of efficiency gets you profits. Sustainability of value system alone gets you sustainability of profits and growth. Please note. Cream reports satisfy the Kantian requisite for the science of metaphysics, logically structured like that of the natural sciences and mathematics. E for earnings is the output, whereas CRAM is the raw materials input. We derive two important functions for the management operating systems. One, establishing Newton's third law. If there is substance of quality created and placed under the management quality of cream ratings framework, then corporate governance is possible. Otherwise, no. Goal congruence. Each person takes the effort to convert matter where energy is waiting to happen to liberate the same to law 1, which is a liberated matter, which is Preamble and balance sheet. Law 2, when optimized, there will be no matter waiting to happen and the index of inactivity becomes 0. That is the goal congruence that each person measures up to in the organization. Now, let me take you to the last principle, principle number 5, the emergent property phenomenon. Principle number 5, emergent property phenomenon. The 3 principles of emergent property, according to Nobel laureate Murray Gell-Mann, are 1. Conformability of nature to herself. 2. Applicability of simplicity. And 3. Unreasonable effectiveness. By emergent property, it means you don't add something more to get something more. Rather, shed your inhibitions and focus on using your ethical assets. Emergent property means it is corporate yoga. Please listen to Nobel laureate Murray Gell-Mann.
As separate metaphysical postulates. They follow from the fundamental theory. They are what we call emergent properties. You don't need something more to get something more. That's what emergence means. Life can emerge from physics and chemistry, plus a lot of accidents. The human mind can arise from neurobiology and a lot of accidents. The way the chemical bond arises from physics and certain accidents. It doesn't diminish the importance of these subjects to know that they follow from more fundamental things plus accidents. That's a general rule. And it's critically important to realize that. You don't need something more in order to get something more.
Credit TED Talks by Nobel laureate Murray Gell-Mann. Now, how the emergent property of IBCM, an activity-based cost management, is structured. I read with what Murray Gell-Mann says is detailed below. Conformability of nature to herself. With corporate atomic structure, companies do align with nature. Number 2, applicability of simplicity. It is ensured by limiting the entire management process to only 2, the creative process and the action process. The second principle of emergent property, the applicability of criterion of simplicity is met. 3, unreasonable effectiveness. By ROI, the return on intangible, covering the entire gamut of management with a single formula. The unreasonable effectiveness principle is met. Unreasonable effectiveness is the art of resolving a paradox with the least number of mathematical calculations. Armed with the 5 principles of IBCM, the seeds of I 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution can grow to accomplish the dreams of Klaus Schwab. When we chase the objects, it is infinite, and the cost of promoting AI, as it was for ERP packages or multi-billion-dollar re-engineering exercises, we are wary of causality resulting in ex post facto failures. What Murray German says is F for I 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution. The human mind can arise from neurobiology and a lot of accidents by constructing values and deconstructing valueless. Next, I shall explain briefly and collectively of Chapter 7, 8, and 9 of the Board the Protons policy, the CEO team cream reports, the practices, the electron, and the society, the neutrons.
Chapter 7, The Board, Corporate Proton. Chapter 8, The CEO Practices and Cream Report for Corporate Electron.
Let me present now Chapter 7, The Board, Corporate Proton, and Chapter 8, The CEO Practices and Cream Report for Corporate Electron. Sustainability is the watchword and implies sustainability of ethical responsibility. The board undertakes the ethical responsibility by forming the corporate nucleus with the society. The board does a marathon, whereas the CEO team a 100-meter dash. The corporate culture is constant. Ushering in accounting quality and management quality principles rest with the board. The CEO team takes the fiscal responsibility of running an organization that spins around the corporate nucleus. It is the responsibility of the CEO team to prepare a cream report and bring it on to the society's table. An open-ended process blocks 170 for an organization provides a platform for the cream reports, 12 quantitative and 158 qualitative elements of management. You may see the cream report for HUL created as a case study as to their combined ratings. Index of inactivity by process area and index of inactivity by resource area. Whereas process areas represent the law 2, where matter is energy waiting to happen, deriving an index of inactivity. Resource areas represent law 3, where energy is put through by individuals deriving an index of inactivity, where the action has either taken place or not taken place. This matrix would tally between law 2 and law 3, one by process area and another by resources area, respectively. Please see the table 7.1, index of inactivity by process area, and 7.2, index of inactivity by resource area. The ratings would be by 6 stages of transformation for the creative process and the 6 stages of task accomplishment for the action process. In action process, once strategy plan 2030 is over, the CAGR and CARR for 2030 be derived. Let us say 15% CAGR for action process. It would be the same 6 stages as creative process. Stage 1 is a state of insentience less than 0. Then greater than 0 to 100, 4 equal proportions. And targets reached and more than 100%. This will be the 6 stages. So CAGR of 15% or anything that is being arrived at will derive ratings accordingly.
Please see Table 7.1, Index of Inactivity by Process Area, and Table 7.2, Index of Inactivity by Resource Area, that follow now, for your study. Chapter 9, Society for Corporate Neutron.
Society for Corporate Neutron, Chapter 9, is the last chapter. In its scale, scope, and complexity, the transformation will be unlike anything humankind has experienced before. The Klaus Schwab had mentioned would be applicable to the society at large. And providing a snapshot of Project SEED, social, environmental, and economic development goals, dealing individually 9 social, 4 environmental, and 4 economic development goals of 17 SDGs. All the 3 issue areas need the CAGR set for Strategy Plan 2030 individually and bring them to CDGR. Project SEED, I have given the link, what I had earlier published via LinkedIn. I 4.0, the 4th industrial revolution, is about advanced digital technology. Whereas what I find at the root level, the economic data is delayed by minimum 3 to 4 years. There is not a single data anywhere at the state level or national level or OECD, World Bank or IMF level. If we want to claim superiority of the digital technology, this up-to-date database collection must be addressed forthwith. I give below the GSDP 1.5 trillion blueprint as well as the EPP, effort per person, by CAGR by each GSDP economic development categories targets. Projected CAGR by 41.38% is achievable should one apply the principles stated herein by CREAM ratings. In addition, you can see the GNH, Gross National Happiness Index, that combines with GDP calculator, covering both within Project SEED detail. Link is given. Gujarat State GSDP $1.5 trillion 2024, a template for GDP GNH combo. I have given the link. Culled from the Global Council for Happiness and Well-being, GCHW, 5 categories are taken into consideration for an integrated solution and report of GDP GNH combo by CREAM ratings as to targets set and tracking the progress on a daily basis, that is CDGR. The 5 issue areas covered are health, education, work, personal happiness, and the cities. As Andre Heed had said, strategically and crucially to think more about the future, not just the day-to-day task at hand. Here we are. I think we are in a good position to have a look at all the good things which BDO managers have told very beautifully. I would like to interact with them more and let us see where we go. Thank you.
Table 1. The GSDP $1.5 trillion blueprint. Table 2. The EPP, effort per person, for the same.